love bugs. How's everybody? Today I want to show you some different ways to sit in meditation. There's all kinds of ways, and it really has to do with body type. It has to do with flexibility in the hips. It has to do with back issues, neck issues, but my preference is to be able to sit up. So when you lay down, everything, the chakras don't have the energy flowing like they could and should. And even if you look at old yogis, they sat up all the way to the ends of their lives. So that opening, that energy through the lungs, through the breath, the prana all the way up and down, that kundalini that rises all the way around the chakras, really important in my sense to be able to be sitting up. So let's explore some different ways that you can sit. If sitting on the floor with a cushion doesn't work for you, by all means, use a chair. But today we're going to cover different cushion options for you in order to have that nice long spine and the best access to breathing that we can, okay? So the most traditional ones, cushions that we have are zafus. Two different kinds of zafus on the market. We have buckwheat, so there's actually little buckwheat holes. You can hear it, shaky, shaky. That actually moves and forms, so you can get it really, really tall, and some of them also have zippers so you can fill or take them out as well. So depending on how tight your hips are, you can change that positioning too. The other ones are called K-pop. You can get a lot of these online. Sometimes it's really great to be able to go to a alternative healing bookstore or a yoga place where you can actually commune with your cushion and see which one you want. But by all means, you can order them online. And if you don't like it, send it back. Do not sit on a cushion that you don't love. This is like any kind of meshing with energy that you're going to do, so it's sacred, and that's where you're going to have your butt for a really long time. So make sure you're comfortable, make sure you love it, aesthetically pleasing if you like as well. Traditional Zen cushions are usually black, and so I do have a black K-pop, and K-pop is as easy to let go of because they don't always have an opening on them. Otherwise, cats and dogs really like to get in these as well. So you basically, if you see it, my natural tendency is to push it up a little bit and to have that option. So in order to sit, I'm going to use the traditional K-pop one first. I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see what the body does. So when we sit in a chair, sometimes we roll and push the tailbone under, right? This is our American posture. We protect the heart. Let me take this off here. We protect the heart, we roll the shoulders, we push the kidneys into the back of the ribs, and we protect our gut. And so when we're meditating, we really want the option to have the front and the back body together. So we don't want to blast everything open, but we want to find that neutral spine. So we usually sit on the front third or fourth of the cushion to be able to drop the knees. Don't worry if the knees are way up here to begin with. Totally fine. They might open up. You can also take blocks to balance those out. Our job here is to start breathing and bring the energy into our center to allow it to go down into the hips. Eventually those muscles will start letting go. We don't know how much, it doesn't really matter, but it's really important for you to be comfortable. So as you rock side to side, you're going to feel those sit bones in your tush. They want to go straight down. So notice if you go one direction, pelvic tilt, the other direction, pelvic tilt. Can you imagine those sit bones going straight down? From there, we have the sacrum in the low back, we have the pubic bone in the front, and then we have the hip wings on either side. So imagine that those hip wings right here are shining forward rather than down or back, yeah? So feel that drop down through your cushion. You can even imagine it rooting all the way down into the earth. And then you lift the spine all the way up. So it's not ramrod straight because we have a natural curve in the spine. So just imagine maybe that the ears go above the shoulders, go above the hips, and everything else kind of moves in between. Drop the shoulders, lift the spine, and then we find the breath in the belly, okay? And so you will feel the different issues or tightnesses in the body, which is why asana in yoga was formed. It's to move the body. It's the yoga poses in order to stretch and get flexibility in the joints and the muscles so that yogis could sit in meditation for a very long time without getting achy so they could reach samadhi, yeah? So it's dropping all the way down and just thinking about how that feels. So cushion, in this K-pop cushion, is finding that position that you can commit to. Ideally, eventually, we'd really like to be able to not move for maybe a minute, maybe 2, maybe 5, maybe 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour. Is no matter what, can you bring that energy into those spaces? So just think about, where do you want to land for that amount of time to commit to this journey for yourself, okay? So this is K-pop. Zafu that you can get anywhere. Now, look at the different dimensions of the body when I sit on K-pop. I'm sorry, this is not K-pop. This is buckwheat. Think about when you go here, I'm gonna drop down a little bit. See the difference in the body? We don't have the firmness of the K-pop, so kind of I drop in, which is great. I can also firm it up a little bit to raise myself up, but you're just gonna notice a little bit more give in this cake and the buckwheat pillows, okay? And they do have crescent ones, but I encourage you to get the full cushion because then you won't have to figure out, the body doesn't have to figure out how to stay on that crescent. If you already have one, by all means use it. If you love it, go for it. But right now, for these practical purposes in our training, let's work with one of these options. And so you just notice here that there's a little bit more wiggle, a little bit more give, but you can still find that neutral spine and that lift all the way up, dropping the shoulders, relaxing the chin, the ears, the jaw, and maybe closing the eyes. Okay, we'll get into hand positions later, but for now, just acknowledging what's the best cushion for you. So if you don't want to invest in one of these yet, or you don't have one, no worries. There's options that you can have as well that are around the house, but I want you to see what the spine and what the body does when you sit in these different options. So number one goal, I think, is to make sure that the lungs are open. If we're sitting like this, you see here how the lungs get all restricted and constricted. We want those to be open. We want the diaphragm to be able to move and open and close through the inhales and the exhales. We want the ribs to be able to use that 360-degree breathing, front, sides, back. And if I'm slumped over, I'm not getting that, right? And if I'm leaning against the back of something or the back of a chair or the wall, I'm also not getting that opportunity to engage the back body and open up the front body. So when we sit flat, you notice that I'm dropping down and my knees are coming up. That's why we want the hips to lift higher than the knees. So think about the different kinds of pillows in your house that you could use. Teaching yoga for the last 18 years, if people aren't interested in Zafus, they certainly don't have to get one, but especially at the corporate level, when I had people come to class, they brought their pillow. Bring a bed pillow and you can fold it in half. We want to use the edge that's folded rather than the other side, otherwise you're going to wiggle and your body doesn't need to react to any more things. We react to plenty of things throughout the day. So we want to work on that folded edge. Same thing, we're going to work on that front third or so and dropping down, opening up the knees, lifting. So I'll show you the alternate. If I went back, I'd be like this. If I went forward, I'd be like this, like you put a coffee cup on your butt, which I used to be able to do when I had a big sway back and I had digestion problems and heart problems way too far forward. I want to protect that. I want that neutral spine, the neutral pelvis, yeah? So think about that. This is the best pillow option in my opinion because you get enough lift and you can settle in properly, okay? I would have people in class that would bring small pillows, which are okay, but notice the difference here. When I sit on that, I'm really gonna fall down. I'm really gonna go all the way and sink into my hips and my deep lateral rotators around my hips. Probably not the best option, but better than sitting on the floor. So maybe you do this, you can kind of roll up a little bit. We use what we've got. And so that, my body is kind of working on where do I go? And that's maybe just a little bit too much energy when I'm trying to sit and meditate, yeah? All right, So maybe you have a bigger one like this. This is foldable, and you notice that we get a little bit more lift like we would in the other pillow. Shebang, down through the booty, through the sit bones. Still have a little wiggle, a little bit more than I would with a bed pillow, but definitely an option, more of a rule than anything. So you can work with that as well, find that neutral spine, lift all the way up. If you're a yoga person, for all my yogis, you may already have a blanket at home. Blankets work really well. They're not going to give you as much lift. They're good to sit on for 5-10 minutes. If you're sitting for 20 or 30, you're going to notice your ankles splaying a little bit. You might notice the tops of the feet, but you do get some lift. Probably can't even see me on that video part right down there. There we go. How's that? So you see I get a little bit of a lift and I can drop down, but you notice that I'm really splaying out. That's where we get the half lotus and the full lotus. We're opening up through the hips. So definitely an option, but when we sit, I really do prefer having a little bit more lift. So just notice the differences there. And if you're a block sitter, same option. We're getting a little bit higher, lifting the spine, opening up the organs, dropping the knees all the way through. So that's an option too, but it can be a little bit challenging. You get definitely the firmness of the block. Cork block, even more. And so it's going to push you up, open you up, but it might be a little bit more challenging for beginners to be able to sit here for an extended period of time, okay? So those are all my options. There are plenty more. There are meditation benches. You can use whatever you have at home. Anything that you've already been using, go ahead and comment. Let me know what's been working for you, and any other issues that you might have. Happy to help. Namaste. Have a beautiful time. Hope that helps with your meditation and sitting practice. Peace.